Just two words for the beginning of this medical segment. Erectile dysfunction. Kind of joking about it during the break, but it can be quite serious. Dr. Nick, welcome again to Girl Talk.
Lovely to see you again, Kaye.
Yes, has been a couple of weeks, hasn't it? Yeah. And how's the last couple of weeks gone? More about that later. So, erectile dysfunction means, apart from the fact, it sounds like an exotic
impotence, basically. People are having difficulty getting an erection when they're having sex. Well, they get an erection, but it doesn't last long enough for them to have sex.
Okay, so obviously a bit of concern.
Yeah.
And so do we know what causes?
Well, sometimes people have some sort of physical medical problem that might cause it, medication they're on, problems with their blood pressure, blocked arteries, that sort of things. But for everybody, whether or not they've got a physical cause, there's a big psychological element to it. You know, for men, people tend to be pretty centred on the whole erection business, so they tend to find it a very anxiety-provoking, a very sort of emotionally almost devastating experience to not be able to get an erection. And that actually can make the problem worse, because then people start worrying about it, and that actually inhibits their ability to get an erection when they are having sex.
Sure. So what is prescribed? What can we do about this?
Well, the first thing, I suppose, is someone to talk to their doctor about the problem they've had, and look into what possible medical causes there are. If there are no medical causes found, or if there are things that people can't necessarily do something about, then it's a question about looking at treatment.
Okay. Now, quite a good deal has been made of the drug Viagra, which has now been approved. So this is you can treat erectile dysfunction with Viagra?
Yeah, absolutely. People that have had a lot of problems having erections, especially when there's not a physical cause, which is probably most people, then Viagra seems to have a really good effect for people in terms of producing an erection.
So, and Viagra is a prescribed drug.
Yeah.
All joking aside, it is. So.
Yeah. And every time there's a drug, there's risk of side effects, there's benefits, and there's risks that need to be taken into account. So I think it's something that somebody really needs to sit down and talk to their doctor about.
Okay. You actually brought some Viagra.
Yes, I brought a sample.
It's a good time to have a look.
Absolutely. So
we're fascinated by this Viagra.
These are the pills that everybody's been talking about. They come in a little pack there, lovely little blue pills. This one's actually had one taken.
I can see.
It's not mine, by the way. The person didn't like it and returned it to me. And basically the person takes a pill about half an hour to a couple of hours before they're expecting to have sex, and away they go.
Right.
I suppose the sort of important thing about it is that it's not an aphrodisiac. It doesn't actually produce an erection. It's just when people are having sex, it allows natural erections to occur more easily.
Right.
So I think that the
part of it expand the blood vessels.
Yeah, it works on the blood vessels in the penis, basically.
Right.
That the normal erection processes get sort of enlarged and built up, I suppose. So it doesn't produce it out of the blue. It just sort of emphasises and enhances the body's normal erection processes.
Okay. Gosh, isn't it bizarre that it's taken so long to get something like that together? Where does the name come from? I'm just fascinated by the name because it sounds like Niagara, which is a very sexy movie that has nothing whatsoever to do with erectile dysfunction.
Film, so I suppose it's got even stronger implications in the United States. I think that some of the problems and some of the stuff that's come out around Viagra has been because people have thought that it's going to enhance their sex life and it's going to improve their sexual performance. It doesn't actually do any of that. if you don't actually have a problem getting an erection, then
Right.
it does absolutely nothing, basically. So there's not really much point in taking it.
Okay, and there are you mentioned there are some side effects, and we should also caution with this drug. What do we need to say with regards to that?
The main one, I suppose, for our listeners is its interaction with amyl or poppers. That if people who have taken Viagra use amyl or poppers, whatever you like to call it, there can be a drop in blood pressure, and there's actually been fatal reactions. There's actually people that have died from using amyl with Viagra. So that's a really big thing to be cautious about.
And I guess it's the same with any other prescribed drug. If somebody offers you a prescribed drug, you just don't take it without.
Yeah.
Like if somebody comes up and offers you a Viagra, it would be unwise to. It's not like a party drug as such.
Yeah, exactly right. Because it is a drug. It affects the whole of somebody's body, and there's risk associated with it.
Dr. Nick, I thank you once again. That is fascinating, the Viagra tale. And when the next segment, we're going to be looking at party drugs. That should be fascinating.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming in once again.
Pleasure.
Doesn't matter. I don't worry about that.
Leave the mic.
It's okay for the other show.
No, the back door's not.
Yeah? Welcome to tonight's episode.
Hold on, girls, you'll have to be silent.
When we first started doing these interviews, it was definitely a case of a lot of the other girls that I spoke to mentioned at some point in the conversation your name. So there's, if we drew a big family tree, you'd kind of be somewhere up there, with the...
Right, Grandma.
Yeah.
No. Well, not Grandma, Mama.
But it strikes me, does that ever make you feel like there's a bit of responsibility for the...
Yes, I do. But also, how can I put it? I love drag queens. Now, it's not as though I dislike transsexuals, because a lot of them are my friends. But I've never had a desire to live as a woman. I've loved to dress up as a drag queen, whether you're springable or unspringable, is irrelevant to me. I think it's the fun of it. How I actually started dressing up was that in about 1977, I was having a birthday party. It wasn't a special year, and I thought, I'm going to make a change of sex. So every female that I knew had to come as a guy, and every male I knew had to come as a woman. Now, it didn't matter whether you had all the makeup on, as long as you were in a frock. Mm-hmm. So you'd have macho muscle Marys with a button-through cotton smock on. But it was the fun of it. It formed conversation instantly at a party. Yeah. Where'd you get that outfit? Yeah. And then they'd say, well, I bought this in the second-hand shop. Oh, look at her. Look at the fur she's got on. Where'd you get that? I took it out of my mother's wardrobe. Yeah. And then I put a show together, and they were in the backyard. And they just grew.
It was Le Gore's backyard. Was that where you first started to do the video and the camera?
Yes, that was the first...
I think that was the start of a gay TV style of...
Well, it was. Yes. And in actual fact, Don Burke himself is aware of Le Gore's backyard, and an airline steward said to him once on a plane, are you aware that there's a drag queen that does Le Gore's backyard? And he burst into laughter. And he said to the steward, look, is there a chance you could... There's no problems. I just am fascinated. And we actually sent him a copy of me doing the backyard, and got a lovely letter back saying he thought it was fun and all the best.
Yeah.
So he was aware of it.
What are some of the girls you've worked with over the years? some of the close girls that have become close friends?
I first met Barbara Quicksand, and Barbara in 1984, I think, went into a talent quest that we were running at Duke's in Abbotsford, and this young boy came in with a big bag, and I said, the dressing room's out there, darling, punch your face, there's a mirror there, and I'll catch you later with whatever you're doing. And about half an hour later I went back out into the dressing room, and I just looked at Shane and said, my godfathers, what are you doing? And he said, I'm trying to do Barbara Streisand. I said, you look like her. I said, so your name is Barbara? And he said, fine. And I said, but Quicksand. Quicksand, not Streisand. Yeah. And I actually named Barbara Quicksand. Miss Candy, darling to work with. Doreen Manganini, she was born in Le Gore's backyard. Oh my goodness, so many have been through that backyard. Yeah. In the end, I had to take over the North Melbourne Football Club and run it there and have a show. Our biggest show was in 1983. It was Women of the 60s, and that had a cast of 17.
My goodness.
17, yes. And that was really a great achievement. John Minogius, God rest his soul, was the director, and Peter McBean and myself produced the show. And in the end, we ended up being asked by Jan Hillier to do a couple of weeks at Pokies to give the girls a rest.
What about the whole... Because you've been involved in the scene for obviously a while, a few years.
Yes,
just a couple of years.
Just a couple of years and a couple of months.
Yeah. So you must have seen some changes in terms of like the acceptance of the gay community and...
Oh, so much so. And I feel now the younger generation really don't appreciate what the older community founded. And that was the legalisation of it. Mind you, I lost interest in it the minute it was legalised. Well, Le Gore's Backyard, a retrospective that's currently at the Exchange, is also playing the music of the era of 89 through to 93. Yeah. And it brings back memories, and on opening night, a lot of friends from Rosebud, Ballarat, all arrived at the... And they haven't been out since they'd finished 6 years ago. Yeah. And they loved it.
It was a lovely part.
I think it's looking back. I mean, we're younger, we're prettier, and we're more energetic. I was working at a place called Mainframe, and the Exchange approached me about bringing Le Gore's Backyard to the Exchange. Now, the Exchange was male-orientated. Therefore, I said, look, we can have the show there, we can set up the stage and so forth, but things have got to change. Women have got to be allowed into the hotel. Drag queens have got to be allowed to be drag queens. Transsexuals are allowed. It's got to be a mixed environment. Otherwise, I'm not interested in all male domination. I think that's all so 70s, and it's all so passé. It's thank God a thing of the past. I love the fact that somebody can bring their mum along to the show, their sister, their auntie, their grandmother, which they have done over the years. And I think it's lovely that they can come and see a drag show and we're not freaks of nature, and everything is tongue-in-cheek, and it's great fun, and a touch of glamour. Where's the scene going? I hope it's not going to be as drug-orientated as I have noticed in the last 4 years. I think that is a sadness, that people can't go out without medication. I'm not against people having medication, if you know what I mean, but I am a bit wary of the fact that it's a false confidence and everybody looks beautiful and everything is lovey-dovey, but it's like an escapism. And I think drugs are really the problem for the gay scene to look at. Just as I think safe sex has been put on the back burner too. I don't think it's publicised enough for the younger generation to know that, you know, safe sex is the only sex. I don't think we take ourselves too serious. I think, particularly if a drag queen takes themselves seriously, I think they're digging their own grave. As in, really, you know, to be. I love the humour side of drag, and that's without sending up women as such. I like the persona of, look, I'm over the top, and think what you think, and do what you do, but do it well.
What's the matter now?
How do they walk in these things, huh? How do they keep their balance?
Must be the way the weight is distributed now. Come on.
It's so drafty. They must be catching cold all the time, huh?
Will you quit stalling? We're going to miss the train.
I feel naked. I feel like everybody's staring at me.
With those legs, are you crazy? Now, come on.
It's no use. We're not going to get away with it, Joe.
My name is Josephine, and this was your idea in the first place.
I think Medland does a pretty good job in that scene, actually, and I love the frock with all those little sort of feathers and things around the bottom. Barbara, it really is an extraordinary film. Why did you choose it?
Well, heaps of reasons. I suppose one of the main ones was when I first saw it in my teens, I thought, wow, you know, the world could really be a different place. So it had a big impact upon me. It's very funny. I mean, it's one of the funniest films I've ever seen. And the other reason, perhaps the main one, is that it looks at that whole idea of cross-dressing and the idea that gender itself is perhaps a construction. And the little extract we just saw on the railway station, I think, brings that out perfectly, because the guys are teetering around, can't even stand up on their high heels, and Munro sort of sails off in this beautiful performance, and the Jack Lemmon character recognises, you know, it is a performance. He says, look at her, you know, jello on springs. So the whole film does that all the way through. You're just so aware all the way through that you know, men perform being masculine and women perform being feminine, and we can swap if we want to.
What are you talking about? You can't marry Osgood. You think he's too old for me?
Jerry, you can't be serious.
Why not? He keeps marrying girls all the time.
But you're not a girl, you're a guy. And why would a guy want to marry a guy?
Security.
Jerry, you better lie down. You're not well.
Will you stop treating me like a child? I'm not stupid. I know there's a problem.
I'll say there is.
His mother. We need her approval. But I'm not worried because I don't smoke.
Jerry, there's another problem. Like, what are you going to do on your honeymoon?
We've been discussing that. He wants to go to the Riviera, but I kind of lean towards Niagara Falls.
Jerry, you're out of your mind. How are you going to get away with this?
I don't expect it to last, Joe. I'll tell him the truth when the time comes.
Like when?
like right after the ceremony.
Oh.
Then we get a quick annulment, he makes a nice settlement on me, and I keep getting those alimony checks every
How was the film actually received at the time it was made?
Well, it certainly set the heads a-bobbing. In Kansas, they tried to censor the film. They said that the love scene on the boat with Marilyn Monroe was far too sexual and explicit, and they wouldn't release it until it was cut. A number of critics got very upset. They said the film dealt with a whole lot of perverse themes, such as homosexuality, lesbianism, cross-dressing, and at one point some critics even said there was reference to oral sex, and I read with amazement that what they were referring to was that line where Marilyn Monroe, I think it is, says that she always gets the fuzzy end of the lollipop. A strange idea of oral sex. But people were very upset in some quarters, but that only added to the film's popularity. It was a huge bestseller. I think the highest grossing comedy ever up to that point in time.
I called Mama. She was so happy she cried. She wants you to have her wedding gown. It's white lace.
Yeah, Osgood, I can't get married in your mother's dress. She and I, we are not built the same way.
We can have it altered.
Yeah, no, you don't. Osgood, I'm going to level with you. We can't get married at all.
Why not?
Well, in the first place, I'm not a natural blonde.
Doesn't matter.
I smoke. I smoke all the time.
I don't care.
Well, I'm a terrible pass. For 3 years now, I've been living with a saxophone player.
I forgive you.
I can never have children.
We can adopt some.
But you don't understand, Osgood. I'm a man.
Well, nobody's perfect.
The other thing about Some Like It Hot are the incredible stories that circulated about Marilyn Monroe. Apparently she was very difficult to work with on the film. She turned up late, like really late, 6, 7, 8 hours late, days late. The director said that she was the most difficult person he'd ever worked with. And Tony Curtis said, which I found quite an interesting and bizarre comment, that kissing her in the lovemaking scenes he imagined was like kissing Hitler. So they did not get on. I think that's what that comment was all about. But the fabulous thing I think that Monroe does in that film and all her films is that she presents sex as good fun. She really sort of separates sex out from guilt. And so she liberates Hollywood in a way, particularly from the film noir films of the 40s with the sort of sultry femme fatale where sex is always illicit. Monroe makes sex fun and something that people can enjoy without feeling guilty. And I think that's a great achievement.
Any comments on the new format of Rainbow Awards?
I love it. I live next door, so it's very convenient.
What brings you along this evening?
Just to support the gay community.
Jonathan, you have won an award here.
I did. I won the Rainbow Health and Welfare Award.
You look truly shocked when you accepted that award.
I was truly shocked. It's pretty shocking to win something for just doing your job.
Can you tell me a little bit about AIDS care?
Yes, we're a support group in the St Kilda area and we provide care and support for those infected and affected by HIV/AIDS.
What do you all see?
I think it's great. I think it's nice for the different atmosphere and the different charisma and that in there. It's great.
It must be maybe the second time we've ever spoken on camera.
That's the second time I haven't won the Rainbow.
I've always said that if you're looking for trash, the best place is the trash can.
That's it. Another man's trash is my treasure.
Miss Vick, of course, Sissy, you're a performer.
I was the bar girl.
Do you think you were typecast at all?
Just a tad.
Candy, congratulations, darling. We love you. We think it's overdue after 15 years.
So there's the interview.
I love the breaks for the booze too, by the way.
Yeah, she's an alcoholic like myself. We're called functioning alcoholics.
I think the format's fabulous. I'm a bit concerned about up and down these stairs to find a drink and a sandwich, though.
What's your award here for?
It's for leadership by a gay male. Absolutely extraordinary, I think.
But you've won so many. You practically monopolised it.
17 awards.
Did you expect to win that?
Well, I knew policing issues was hot on the public agenda, and I think the Victoria Police should take note of this.
It's been absolutely fantastic so far, so...
This is a face of Ben TV.
It is an X-Men TV.
How's your pet shop going?
My pet shop's thriving. It's just fantastic.
Yes, and all of the animals are being fixed up.
Oh, I fix all animals.
Oh, what am I looking? Gay male performer.
Gay male performer. And was that essentially for boy pussy or a whole body of work?
I think essentially boy pussy.
The writer of Boy Pussy.
Yes, that's right.
And it had how many seasons, do we know?
It had 2 seasons, one here in Sydney, one here in Melbourne, one in Sydney.
Yes.
Yeah.
And both seasons very well received?
They were.
Because you've got a hairy chest.
Controversial.
This is the second award for Joy Melbourne.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
So you must feel very humbled about this.
Very, very humble.